Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Nat and this is Nat's Narrative, and today I'm going to be letting my TBR cup choose what I read. As you saw, I already drew the slips of paper, so for my physical book TBR cup, I ended up drawing pick a book to reread, and I already knew exactly which book that was going to be. In this cozy reading blog, I will be reading House of Salt and Sorrows by Aaron A. Craig. I read this book back in 2021, I believe, and this is a spooky retelling of the tale of the 12 dancing princesses with a very dark twist. I would definitely say that Aaron A. Craig is one of my favorite spooky fantasy authors, so I'm very excited to be doing this reread. Now, as for ebooks, I ended up drawing My Throat an Open Grave by Tori Valino, and this one is also a book that I'm very excited to read. I think I got this recommendation last year, but I wasn't buying any new books and it wasn't on Kindle Unlimited, but now it is, so it's finally time for me to read it. Labyrinth meets folk horror in this darkly romantic tale of a girl who wishes her baby brother away to the Lord of the Wood. Growing up in the small town of Winston, Pennsylvania feels like drowning. Leah goes to church every Sunday, works when she isn't at school, and takes care of her baby brother, Owen. Like every girl in Winston, she tries to be right and good and holy. If she isn't, the Lord of the Wood will take her, and she will disappear like so many other girls before her. But living up to the rigorous standards of the town takes its toll. One night, when Owen won't stop screaming, Leah wishes him away, and the Lord of the Wood listens. I am also currently listening to The Invocations by Crystal Sutherland, and that audiobook, I only have 3 hours left, so if I end up doing any cozy activities, I will be listening to that in the background. The Invocation is a story of three girls who all have their own different agendas, but they end up needing each other's help in order to find the mystery of who is killing witches around London. Now that I have one book per format, so an audiobook, an ebook, and a physical book, I am ready to start this cozy October blog. Okay, everyone, it is 6:02, and I'm about to start My Throat an Open Grave. The dedication says, "For the girls who can never quite be good enough." I did end up reading to page 25, which was the end of chapter 2. It is a 269-page book, so it's actually quite short. But yeah, the story started quite quickly. It happens in this little town in Appalachia. I know some people say Appalachia, some people say Appalachia. I don't know. I don't know. But it happens there. And basically, this little town has like the legend of the Lord of the Wood. And this is like an entity. It sort of sounds like a fae that comes and steals babies or teenage girls. So it's one or the other. But yeah, it sort of sounds like a made up thing that people in town or like the elder people in town made up so that teenage girls behave. Because like it's supposed to be like if you are misbehaving or impure, that's when the Lord of the Wood comes and gets you. The main character, Leah, she has to take care of her brother most afternoons, like after school and in the evenings, because her mom is working and her dad is a truck driver. So Leah takes us through what an afternoon and evening is like taking care of her baby brother Owen. And then when she goes to sleep, she ends up waking up because she smells smoke coming from the bedroom where Owen is sleeping. And when she gets there, she finds him gone from his crib. And instead of like his little body, there is like a changeling. That's what she calls him. But basically, it's just a bundle of sticks and petals. And then the window is open. And when she goes outside, there is a mark of like a bloody handprint. Outside of Owen's window, there's a piece of his onesie. And then she hears the like mad cackle of a woman in the woods. So it started pretty quickly. We're already like thrown into the action. But yeah, I'm gonna continue reading and then give you another update. I hope you guys think that the flickering lights are adding to this spooky vibe of the video. Hello everyone, I'm back. I ended up reading My Throat an Open Grave for a little bit longer, and then I was in the mood to watch a spooky movie while I had dinner. So I chose Pan's Labyrinth. I thought that was very fitting, and then I read a little bit more after the movie. I made it to page 86, which is 31%, but I do think it is a good time to change books. First, though, let me just talk to you guys about what is going on in the book. I did mention that the Lord of the Wood would steal babies and teenage girls, and I was kind of wrong. So basically, what happens after Leah's mom gets home and she realizes what happened is that she calls people from church and like people are around town, and at dawn, they all gather at the church where they're basically blaming Leah and saying that she accepted the devil into her home and gave her brother away. So basically, what is happening to Leah now is that she's being cast into the woods to seek out the Lord of the Wood and bring her brother back. Do whatever it takes to bring her brother back. And after walking for hours, she finds this boy, like a teenage boy, and asks him if he is part of the following of the Lord of the Wood. And he says, yeah, follow me, like I'll take you to him. And so after walking for like the rest of the day, they get to this clearing and there's a bunch of people living there in little cabins and stuff. And she's thinking, oh, so this is like a cult. Okay, you guys stole my brother. She gets an audience with the Lord of the Wood. And yeah, this entity ends up being quite surprising. Um, he's not the monster that she was always thought to believe he was. They do end up making a bargain, so she tells him that she will write him a song if he gives her brother back, and he gives her a full month of living with them in like their little cult, so she can write her song, and then he will give her brother back. Like I said, I'm going to get started with House of Salt and Sorrows. I am going to be annotating this book this time, but I'm not going to go overboard with it. I'm only going to use one or two colors, but I'm going to just tap whenever I feel like it. I'm not going to tap specific themes. And yeah, just like highlight and write whenever I want to write a comment or a prediction. I mean, is it really a prediction if I've already read the book? I have my tea and a donut, so I'm gonna get started with my physical book. Please forgive this lighting and the angle. Okay, I'm taking a small break. I've made it to page 56 out of 400. But yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to read for another hour and get to page 100 at the very least. And yeah, so like I mentioned, this book has a dark twist on the whole 12 Dancing Princesses. When we start the story, the main character, her name is Annalie, and she is the sixth sister born. So she's like one of the middle children. But at this point, four of her older sisters have died, and they're like at the funeral of one of like her sisters, the one that just recently died. And they all have very tragic deaths because they're like very young, of course. The mom actually died giving birth to the 12th sister, and then a few years later, the eldest sister gets the plague, I believe, and dies. And then the one sister after that, she falls from a, a ladder in the library and she breaks like her neck. The third one to die, she actually, herself, she drowns in the bathtub. And then the fourth one, she was found, um, she had fallen from a cliff. So Annalie does not believe that it was an accident. She thinks that her sister might have been murdered. So she's trying to like investigate. All of this dead, they've all been in mourning for years. Like the eldest sisters never had their coming out, like their debut. Three of Annalie's sisters, they're about to turn 16 and they are triplets, so they're having their ball, like their debutante ball. So they're all preparing for it. So everybody's getting fitted for dresses and slippers. And if you've read or seen any of like the Barbie movies with the 12 dancing princesses, you know slippers are important, right? For dancing. I'm just gonna get a snack and then keep reading. Okay, I'll see you later. Hello everyone, it is the next night. I ended up reading up to page 103 of House of Salt and Sorrows last night, which makes it one fourth, I guess. My hope is to make it to page 300, maybe 250. But yeah, at this point in the story, a couple of things happened since I last gave you an update. One of them, I think the most important one, is that Annalie, the main character, she finds out that her youngest sister, Verity, she's like a 6-year-old kid, she can see the ghost of like the dead sisters. And the gruesome thing is that she sees them as they looked after death. So like the sister that died of the plague, she sees her with like the boils and everything. And the sister that fell from the ladder and broke her neck and arm, she will see her like sitting in an armchair in the library reading, but like her neck is broken and like her arm is broken. At first, Annalie is skeptic of this, but then she sees the ghost of two of her sisters, and it happens while she's in the company of someone else, and they cannot see it. Just she can see it, the other person cannot. So the question here is Annalie having hallucinations, or can she actually see the ghosts of her sisters? Are they stuck there in the manor? I had also not mentioned this, but the story takes place in a seaside manor. It's all very gothic, very dark. The days are cloudy, the nights are foggy. There's all of these like cliffs, and then they drop down to the sea clashing with the rocks. It's all very atmospheric, which is something that I really, really enjoy about Erin A. Craig's writing. The other big thing that happened was that the birthday ball for the triplets happened, and even though no expense was spared and the place looked beautiful and all of the girls looked beautiful, none of the boys or the men wanted to dance with them, and that's because everybody thinks that they're cursed. So if you know anything about the tale of the 12 dancing princesses, basically these like sisters sneak out of their castle at night and they go dance in faraway lands. So this is sort of setting up for that because nobody in their cluster of islands or the neighboring like regions wants to have anything to do with them, believing they're cursed. So maybe in order to be able to dance the night away, they will have to travel farther than that. I also wanted to mention that I've been reading My Throat an Open Grave today. I actually made it to page 133, which is 50%. So I'm halfway through with that book. It's basically Leah just settling in, sort of, in this little cult village. That's what I called it, a cult, but it doesn't really seem that much like a cult so far. Anyway, it just seems like a collection of people who got tired of living in their small little towns full of small minded people, and they ran to the woods and they've been accepted by the Lord of the Wood. But yeah, he just seems like a pretty normal guy at this point. Doesn't really seem scary at all. But yeah, Leah is pretty distracted. She hasn't really begun writing the song that she promised. So she's dealing with all of that guilt, a lot of religious trauma, and yeah, trying to figure out whether or not she can trust this Lord of the Wood. Okay, it is about 10 p.m. I am going to get a snack and a drink, probably a coffee. And then I'm going to get started with my reading of this. Like I said, at the very least, 150 pages, but I'm aiming for 200. I will talk to you guys in my next update. Hello, guys, it is the next day, and I have great news. Not only did I reach my goal last night with House of Salt and Sorrows, but I surpassed it, okay? I made it to page 332. Um, it was quite late when I stopped, But if I wasn't so tired, I would have kept going and finished it. I only have, I think, 68 pages left of this, which is incredible. At this point in the story, I don't want to give any details of what is happening, but the reason why I ended up reading more than I intended was because once I reached 300 pages, the chapter wasn't over, so I finished that. And of course, there was a little cliffhanger at the end of the chapter, so I had to read the next one, and the next one had this big plot twist that I didn't remember. Okay, so that was a good surprise, even if I'm rereading this book. But yeah, I'm very excited for the rest of the book. There are a few things that I do remember happening, and putting this book down last night took all of my will because I just knew it was coming and I just had to read it. But that is happening tonight. I know I haven't really been filming while I read My Throat and Open Grave, but I have made it to page 174, which is 65%. So the main character has been in the wood in like this little village for a couple of weeks now. She is working on her song and she's trying, though failing, to not feel at home in this little village, right? Because back in her town, people kind of hate her. At the same time, she is being haunted by the ghost of one of the previous girls, like the one that went missing before her. We have no idea what happened to this girl because the Lord of the Wood, the current Lord of the Wood, wasn't in this position at the time that this happened. So he doesn't know for sure, but he knows that she left the village to go back to Winston, but she never made it back, of course. At some point within the woods, she died. And like the baby is nowhere around. So what happened to her and what happened to her baby are a mystery and one that Leah is resolved to find out before her time finishes. As for my audiobook, I'm just about to go listen to it while I make dinner. I'm in the mood for chicken noodle soup, so I'm gonna make that while I listen. And also, I have pre-made cookie dough, so I'm gonna put a couple of cookies in the oven, make my soup, and listen to my spooky book. And then afterwards, I'm gonna finish these other two books. Hello guys, I have good news, and that is that I finished both of the books that I started at the beginning of this blog, House of Salt and Sorrow by Erin A. Craig and My Throat and Open Grave by Tori Bovolino. I cannot believe that I finished this book in 3 nights, okay? I didn't even read it during the day. It was just 3 nights, which has not happened for me with a physical book in so many years. This was just that good, impossible to put down. The images in this are just so spooky and so vivid. I've said it before, but Erin A. Craig is one of my absolute favorite spooky fantasy authors. I'm giving this book 5 stars and I feel incredibly prepared to go into the second book, House of Roots and Ruins, later on in the season. As for My Throat and Open Grave, I also enjoyed this book quite a lot. I'm only giving it 4 stars, which still means that I had a really good time. I was hoping for it to be a little more darker than it ended up being. It's still very much appropriate for the season because there were a lot of dark themes in this. There was a plot twist that I did not see coming at all towards the end. And once it was revealed, I was like, oh yeah, obviously. But it never crossed my mind at all until she said it. Like I said, I enjoyed this book very much. It was definitely the right call to put it in my seasonal TBR for fall. And I'm glad that I put another one of Tori Bovolino's books in my TBR. Thank you so much for joining me while I read these two spooky books. If you want to see more from me, I am on Bookstagram. I will be leaving the links to that as well as my TikTok, Goodreads, and Fable down below. Please remember to like and comment on this video. I would like to know your thoughts if you have read either of these books or if I've convinced you to read them. I would also deeply appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.